Hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, precisionhydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict.
We're also brought to you by foodcell.co.uk.
The next generation of top tube nutritional carriers for your bike, designed to allow endurance triathletes and cyclists to carry enough food and gels while allowing easy access. Use the code FREEPOST for free delivery worldwide. Check it out at foodcell.co.uk.
Great stuff. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. How are you today, Hells?
Very, very well. Thank you, Rob. How are you?
Very, very well indeed. We are, it's a strange question. We are pre-recording this week's show because I'm away. So, Hells, tell us all about today's super duper interview of the week. I know it's a bonkers one, isn't it? People are going to love this.
I hope people are going to love this. So, Rob, have you watched the Barkley Marathon documentary?
I have. It is absolutely amazing, isn't it?
The one on Netflix, which, it's, and you kind of watch it and you're totally in awe, right?
So for people who haven't seen it, the Barkley Marathons is a 5-loop, 100-ish miler that goes through some of the most difficult terrain. And although 100 miles, even that sounds hard on paper, it's a massive accomplishment for any athlete to even complete one lap of this course, isn't it?
Correct.
It's not marked. You've got to know where you're going. You don't get the map until is it the day before or an hour before the start?
It's not much time before it, yeah.
And it's set through some of the most hideous, inhospitable terrain in America with jaggedy thorns. And it's basically like on the route of some guy escaped from prison, didn't he?
That's it.
Decades ago.
That's exactly it.
And he was on the run for 2 days. And when they found him, he'd made it about 2 miles away from the prison.
Because it's so difficult. So the guy who organises it, Laz, he, you don't know when the race is going to start. So you obviously know it's going to be a particular weekend or whatever, and then it'll be between a particular time frame, but it could be almost in like a 12 or 24 hour time window. Yeah. So you can go to bed and then the conch might blow and then you've got like an hour, and then when he lights his cigarette, that's go time.
Wow.
So
it's like Special Forces selection weekend.
You can't even prepare for when that race will start. So it's a complete and utter playing with your mind. And then you have to go and collect pages from a book.
Yeah, so it's like orienteering, isn't it? To prove that you've been to each of the 5 checkpoints, it's like a novel that's hidden in the bushes somewhere, isn't it?
Yes.
And you've got to pull out the page
corresponding to your race number.
There you go. Yeah.
So
you want to do it, don't you? I can hear it in your voice.
No. I really don't. I really don't. No woman has ever finished it, and only 15 men have ever finished it. So it's a race which is like this year, no one finished. So it's really difficult to be successful at the Barkley Marathon. And it's also very difficult to get into it in the first place. But Rob, one of the people who not only managed to get in, but he actually went on to win it after failing on a number of attempts, is this week's interview of the week, who is John Kelly. Now, John Kelly is not only an incredible, awesome ultra runner and winner of this particular race, but he also is a super talented triathlete, or at least has been. As you'll hear in the interview, he's not focusing on triathlons at all again this year. He's going back to ultra running, but he's qualified for Kona twice. He's won his age group at various Ironman races. I think he finished 7th in his age group at Kona.
Wow.
So he's a superb athlete. Interestingly, as again you'll hear, he's not got the strongest swim. So he says he's done all the research and he reckons he's got the record for the slowest swim and still being able to go sub 9 hours.
Oh, wow. That's my kind of record.
1:17, a 1:17 swim, and he still went sub 9.
That's amazing. It's doubly amazing in Kona, isn't it?
That was at Arizona. That wasn't at Kona. But
okay.
Yeah, but honestly, so he's an extraordinary athlete. And then the massive thing that we're going to focus on in the beginning bit of this interview is going to be his next challenge, which when you hear this interview, he will be about to start doing it. So he's going to attempt to do the Grand Round, as he's calling it, which is, like you've heard of the Bob Graham Round in the Lake District, whereby you have to, run a number of the biggest hills there in the space of 24 hours. Well, there's one in Wales and then there's one in Scotland as well. So he's going to do each of the Grand Rounds and he's going to connect them by bike. That is his challenge. He reckons it'll be around about 100 hours. I can't even comprehend it. And what's interesting is that as he talks about it, he's not really sure if he's going to be able to do it. But wow, it's amazing. And he's only just moved to the UK for a couple of years as well. This is what makes it even more incredible. So here we go. I'm going to shut up and let you listen to this week's interview of the week. John Kelly, hello, and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. First of all, how is life in the UK?
It's going well. It's been a little bit over a month now, and we feel like we're finally kind of settled in, have all of the massive amounts of paperwork taken care of and an actual bank account opened, even have a credit card on the way. Wow. with a 55% interest rate because I have no UK credit. But it's been great to have a new area to explore and get to sort of learn the lay of the land and meet the running community over here.
And how long, do you know yet how long you're going to be here for?
Expect it'll be roughly 2 years.
Cool. That's a good amount of time to really get to know the trail running over here and in Europe too.
Yeah, definitely. And so I've got a lot of things planned for this year. I've kind of went, excuse me, when I found out I was moving over, my mind kind of went into, I need to do this and I need to do that. And, there's this other race. I've got a pretty packed schedule at the moment. And, I'm having to try to kind of temper myself to not put too much on it.
Which one on your schedule appeals the most to you at the moment then?
Well, I mean, as far as just an adventure, a personal challenge, this Grand Round that I have coming up definitely does. As far as a race, in general, Tour de Géants is one that I've been targeting for quite a while, just in terms of being something that really suits my strengths as a runner and is in a beautiful area to explore.
And have you done much running in Europe or the UK before coming over this time with your family for a couple of years with work?
No, not really. So I've visited London quite frequently over the past few years, but that's basically been it. I think. In total, I've spent still so far. I've been in mainland Europe maybe like 3 days of my life.
Wow, you are honestly, John, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So there's lots of stuff that I would like to talk to you about. You mentioned your Grand Rounds, so why don't we start there and then we can talk about triathlon as well later, and obviously we want to talk about Barkley Marathon too, but the Grand Round, because this is something which is going to be happening, I think when this goes out, probably it will have just happened or it might be about to happen. So explain all, what the hell is it?
So it's connecting the UK's 3 big rounds, doing them all consecutively, Paddy Buckley, Bob Graham, and Charlie Ramsey, and shooting for that sort of sub 24 goal that is typically there when people do the rounds. and riding my bike in between them. So trying to hook them all together in sort of a self-propelled fashion. No motor assistance of any kind, and doing that in under 100 hours.
That just, it sounds amazing, because when people go and, so many people try something like the Bob Graham round, and it is so difficult to do in that 24-hour period. So the fact that you're trying to do 3 rounds and ride between them, that's a pretty epic challenge.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, I would be lying if I said that it's something that I'm 100% confident in, that I'm going to be successful at. But that's really, to me, what makes it exciting. Well, part of what makes it exciting, I'm also excited about just exploring some gorgeous landscapes that I've only gotten a preview of so far. But, it's these kinds of things that I don't know in any sport, really, in any endeavor. I think that's what adds the element of excitement is the uncertainty in the outcome. So I'm certainly doing absolutely everything that I can. This isn't something that I'm just throwing out there and, don't think I have an actual chance at. But I also am not going to sit here and say, yeah, I'm going to do this. No question. It's going to be a piece of cake.
For people that don't know, how far is it then?
So each round is roughly 100K running, and 22 to 30,000 feet climbing. So in total, it's about 185 miles of running and 84,000 feet of climbing. And then the biking is about 400 miles total.
And how does the 185 miles of running with that ascent, how does that compare to previous races that you've done?
It's right there in what I really consider to be my strength. In all the previous races I've done, sort of the steeper the terrain, the more technical the terrain. In general, the more miserable the conditions, the better I do relative to other people. So it's, the average gradient is not on the Barkley scale, but it is, just trying to think about other races. It is, I would say, steeper than others I've done. The next on the list would probably be a race I've done that was 112 miles and 30,000 feet. It would be right there under Barkley and above everything else I've done.
Wow. And obviously you've been in the UK, like you said, you've only been here for a month. How have you managed to prepare? Have you, do you know the terrain?
So I've been to the Lake District and to Snowdonia to do a bit of scouting, or recce, I guess is I don't know if I said that right. But
yeah, no, we understand.
Okay. Seems to be the term around here, and I haven't unfortunately been able to make it all the way up to Scotland to check out pieces of Charlie Ramsey, but I do have just an incredible group supporting me, and that has just been amazing to see the fell running community over here really get behind this. And I'm at the point now where there should be no part of this where I am alone. Again, this isn't something where I plan on getting drug around the mountains and just guided around, but the support has been absolutely incredible, and without that, there is absolutely no way that I would be able to do this. But then the other piece is, again, so if people aren't familiar with Barkley, which I guess I've referenced now, it's a race in Tennessee. Only 15 people have finished, and it's around 130 miles with 67,000 feet of climbing, and it's mostly off trail, unmarked, and you can't go off trail and explore where the course might be before the race. You don't even know where the course is up until like 12 hours before the race starts. So that experience in itself, I think, is quite useful here, and knowing how to scout out something ahead of time using maps and everything else at my disposal, and then how to deal with these sort of unknown terrains and handle the navigation out there as I go.
Will you miss your crew team that you usually have at Barkley?
So one of them, funny enough, lived near me in Washington, D.C. for the past 5 years. And he moved to Exeter about 2 months before I arrived in the UK. So he will be helping out for part of Paddy Buckley, which will be great to have a familiar face and someone who is familiar with my own sort of strategy and unique needs. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely miss some of those people, but I'm quite confident in the people that are going to be helping me along this route, and incredibly grateful again that some of these people I've never met before, and they're willing to come out during the week to interrupt their life to help out on this, which is just amazing.
It just shows, doesn't it, how awesome the ultra running, and I know triathlon community as well is similarly friendly, but it's amazing when that sort of thing can happen, and it's almost like the kindness of strangers, isn't it? What about, John, it's going to be 100 hours.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare mentally for something like that?
That's quite difficult. Even Barkley included, I've never gone much beyond 60 hours. I did a 200 miler earlier this year that I came in at around 61 hours, and that's the longest I've ever been at it. Sleep deprivation wise, some years I've done Barkley and I didn't sleep the night before, so in reality I was pushing 70 to 80 hours sleep deprivation, but that's still at that point a good stretch from 100. So I know how my body reacts when it gets to that point, and I feel like that's the lowest point that my body can go before it's just kind of it's over. So at that stage, it's really a matter of kind of maintaining myself just above that threshold. And I had to do that a bit in the 200 miler this year. I had to do it a bit in Barkley the year that I finished. Just getting in power naps, getting in the right nutrition, just to kind of keep myself going and to keep myself from dropping below that point of no return.
How long will you let yourself nap for then?
It's really going to be dependent on sort of where I am in terms of daylight and in terms of weather. Again, in previous experience, things that I've done, wasting daylight is a cardinal sin. And I'm particularly worried about that on the bike portions. I've dealt with all kinds of nasty weather and pitch black conditions and pretty much anything that can be thrown at you running, save for like winter. I haven't done a whole lot of what would be termed winter ultras, but other than that, I've pretty much dealt with it. Biking, on the other hand, I'm not really comfortable biking at night. If I get hit with a strong headwind or a bad precipitation on the bike, that's going to be pretty rough. So having that sort of up-to-date forecast from my crew and knowing, okay, I need to make the best use of this time, or maybe I get a quick nap to wait this weather front out, that's going to be a big decision. But right now, the basic strategy is I'm going to have to, I'm going to try to finish the first round at a bit before daybreak and get a quick nap in, and then try to push first bike leg, Bob Graham, second bike leg, to where I'm essentially from sunup on one day until sundown on the next day, squeezing all those in so that I'm biking during the daylight. And then on both ends of that, I can catch some significant naps.
Wow. I'm just like, my God, this is. Does the magnitude of it frighten you a little bit?
Yeah, it does, and especially as we get closer now, and I really fully plan all of this out in detail, and all of the details really hit me of what all this is going to involve. And it's not so much that I think it's not possible. Again, I think that there's a significant chance of a failure, which is again part of what really motivates me. But it's really, there's so many variables, there's so many unknowns, so many things that could change at the last minute. And to be honest, I haven't had this sort of feeling going into something since before the first time that I did Barkley, when everything was kind of unknown to me, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But at the same time, that's the kind of thing where the opportunity for learning and the opportunity for achieving is the greatest.
And that makes it a great little spot here for us just to interject a word from our sponsors. First up, we've got foodsell.co.uk. Massive thanks to them. And we've got some news from their competition for the place at the Outlaw. You might remember we were running a few weeks ago. If you bought a food cell between a certain set of dates, there was a place at the full Outlaw going, and we have the name of the winner. The winner is Ian West from Swale Tri Club. Ian, you've got yourself a place in the Outlaw. Congratulations, my man. You need to get out there and get yourself some training done. Now, we really love Food Cell. We saw loads of them on bikes out at the Outlaw. They're fantastic nutritional top tube carriers. You can get 4 of those big fat gels in, which I certainly struggled to do with the old top tube carrier that I was using. You can open and close it with one hand, which makes it easy getting stuff in and out, which you don't actually think about until you're actually out there riding and you've got to do it. My old one that I had, it was virtually impossible to get anything out of when I was riding, and certainly couldn't stay in the aero bars. This one is super useful. Now remember, you can use the code FREEPOST for free worldwide delivery. With that, check it out over at foodsell.co.uk. And we're also brought to you by precisionhydration.com. Remember, you can go online and take their sweat test. You can find out whether you're a particularly salty or a particularly heavy sweater just by answering a set of questions. If you've been struggling with cramps, or if you've really been struggling to perform in the heat and you found yourself feeling really sick at the end of a race when it's either very long or very hot, it's very possible that electrolytes might be key to helping you either avoid those cramps or avoid possible hyponatremia, which is really low sodium concentrations in your blood, something that I suffered from in the past, and since having corrected that by using Precision Hydration, I've had no problem since. So they are unique in that they come in different strengths. They come in sachets from 250 milligrams of sodium all the way through to 1,500 milligrams of sodium, which is like 4 times stronger than anything else on the market. They don't taste salty. They've got quite a pleasant drinking taste as well, actually. They've got a little bit of sugar in there for some sweetness and to help it absorb. But it's a really great product. You do need to be thinking about taking care of your electrolytes if you're racing middle and long distance, especially if it's hot in these summer months. So get on it over at precisionhydration.com. If you've not tried it before, you can get a free box or tube worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict. Now it's back over to the interview.
Let's go back. It'll fit nicely then right now to Barkley. You gave a little synopsis of what it is. And it is one of the hardest events, but also one of the hardest events to actually get into in the first place, isn't it? Had you tried a number of times before you got in that first year?
So I had two things in my favor. One, when I first got in was before the documentary came out and before it had really exploded in popularity. So it was not quite as hard to get in. It was still by no means easy. But then the other thing I had going for me really on top of my sort of athletic credentials was the fact that I grew up right across the highway from the course. There's a mountain alongside the course that my family's lived on that farm since they came to America 200 years ago, which I know that's not much here, but 200 years in America, that's basically since the beginning of time. And this is in the absolute middle of nowhere, Tennessee. So the odds that you have someone next by that even wants to get in, much less has a legit chance, is astronomical. So that was kind of my trump card for getting in that first year. And then after that, nothing predicts Barkley success like previous Barkley performance. So I had that first year's performance to rely on to get me back in.
When I was younger, I watched the London Marathon on TV, and I remember saying as a child, I really want to do that when I'm older. When you were younger, were you aware of something similar happening? Had you seen it and thought, I want to do that one day?
So not really, to be honest. So like I said, it's a very rural community. Running was not really a thing out there. It's exciting to start to see it get some traction now, in some part due to Barkley. But the local schools, they don't even have track or cross country teams. So my dad knew that there was this thing these crazy people came to do in the park once a year. But, I have actually a picture of me and my dad sitting there along the Barkley course like a year before the race started. So, I was out there, and I enjoyed exploring, and it's something I knew I wanted to do. But as far as the race is concerned, it's not really something I had visibility of and any interest in until college, really.
And so was that the time then? So more like when you were, 20? Was that when you were consciously aware, oh my God, there's like this really crazy race on the doorstep where I grew up. I need to do that one day.
Yeah. So I actually, I did run in high school, and essentially took about 10 years off from running in college and in grad school. I came to it more from the backpacking side, so doing these long through hikes, and that side of things is how I discovered the race. And as I learned more about it, did become increasingly intrigued. But at first, it was just something that I'd said to myself, that that sounds cool, but I could never do that. That'll never happen. And it was, again, just progressively as I got back into running and as I continually improved, that the thought just kind of grew in my head until it was something that I had to try.
On that first, your first attempt, did it go through your head thinking this really isn't cool?
No. I mean, everyone has those moments. Everyone has those low moments during an ultra where they're asking themselves, why am I doing this? I could be back at home sitting on the couch watching a movie, and why am I out here? And I've found that I've been able to answer those questions each time, and it's been good to answer those questions and to go through those thought processes of why I do those things. So yeah, I had those moments, of course, where I was at my low points, but really my takeaway from the race is what my takeaway from so many of my early races was, where I said, I don't think that's what I'm capable of doing. I think I'm capable of doing better. And so while I had initially approached the race as I'm going to give this a shot and that's going to be it, I came away after that first time saying that wasn't my best shot. I need to give it my best shot.
And so what changes would you have made between 2015 when you finished after 3 loops, didn't you? 2016 you had just started the 5th loop, and then obviously you went on to win it after that. So what changes did you make in those years?
So a lot of it was cumulative training, cumulative miles on my legs, experience, and some changes in strategy. There's again, Barkley's one of those things where there's so many variables, and any one of those variables can end your race. So that first year, I went into it with a horrible nutrition plan. My stomach completely knotted up on the 3rd loop. I couldn't get anything down. My legs still felt fine, but I couldn't get my energy back up. I couldn't get any fuel in the tank. So
had you had you eaten, had you not taken on enough fuel, John, or had you just not necessarily eaten the right things, would you say?
So the latter led to the former. I didn't eat the right things, and because of that, my stomach locked down. I thought I was just going to, live off of energy bars and gels the whole time. And after 30 hours of that, your stomach says, nope, I'm good.
Don't want any more of this.
Yeah. And it's a valuable lesson now. I can tell my kids that, no, actually, you can't live off of candy. I tried it. So yeah, the next year I had a much better strategy going in, but then I got derailed by sort of panicking and making a crucial navigational mistake after getting separated from the lead group, physically separated by a briar that I got caught on. And so that was actually an invaluable experience, though, because then I ended up doing 4 loops by myself, navigating the whole thing, dealing with every issue that came up. I was out there on my own. And that was, I feel like, crucial for my success the following year. So again, it's building up that experience, that not only physical experience and training and fitness, obviously, but the mental strategy, knowing what to do in each of these situations, knowing how your body responds and how you as an individual get around them is just you can't really learn that any other way other than just by doing it. And in particular, one of the things that I say all the time in ultras is there is nothing more valuable in a bad situation than having been in a situation that was as bad or worse before and having come out of it.
2017, when you won it, did it all just click then, that time?
I wouldn't say that it all just clicked. We definitely had issues. We had very, very dense fog starting out. I mean, the kind of fog where you can't see your hand if you stick it out in front of your face.
Wow.
And it cost us a huge chunk of time. I would say around an hour and a half, just right off the bat. And that kind of ate into our reservoir, our buffer of time that we had for in case we made mistakes. And so we couldn't really make any more mistakes. And there for a while, it did click. We had a few hiccups on the fourth loop, and I had to, struggle a bit through the fifth loop, take a few power naps, and was mentally really kind of losing it at that point. But it was more a matter of again, just not having things going perfectly, but knowing how to prevent a problem from becoming a full-blown disaster.
You said about about the fatigue. Can you describe what it's like when you're sort of losing it because of lack of sleep?
So I think it's quite different for each individual. I've been asked a lot, about hallucinations and the like that I've had out there, and I've never really had any physical hallucinations. What it's more like for me is when you have those dreams that you wake up and you swear that it was real. It just felt so real. For me, it's sort of the opposite, where it is real, and I'm not sure if it is. I think that I'm dreaming. That I can't differentiate where that boundary is, if I'm actually still awake and doing these things, or if I've slipped off and am just dreaming that I'm doing them. And so that, the entire final descent before finishing in 2017, I had enough mental focus for one singular thing, and that was just repeating to myself that this is Barkley. You do have all your pages. You just have to get to the gate and finish. You just touch the gate. Just touch the gate. This is really happening. And so that's for me what it is it's just staying in control of realizing, yes, this is real. Yes, I'm doing this.
It's fascinating. And do you think that will come into play on the rounds? A similar sense, that attitude, you're going to have to do a similar thing?
Yeah, I think that it very well could. One thing on the rounds is that I do, particularly since this is set up as a personal challenge rather than one with necessarily an impossibly tight cutoff. I mean, that's what people don't really think about Barkley is, 60 hours is for what it is. That is just a really tough cutoff, and it doesn't leave much room for things like sleep or any errors or any recovery. If the cutoff were 70 hours, a lot of people would probably finish. So on the grand round, whenever I start to slip into that state, particularly if it's pre-Charlie Ramsey, before the last round, I expect that I'll stop and take a bit of time to take care of myself, maybe get a quick nap, and pull myself out of that, particularly if it's on the bike, because again, it's one thing to be in that situation, and the worst thing that happens is I fall over on the mountain and catch a quick nap. It's another thing if it happens when I'm riding down the road on a bike.
What went on then at this year's race, at this year's Barkley?
So, you know, I wanted to see what I was capable of if I was coming back with a different sort of mindset. And I wanted to experience the race in a new way that I hadn't before, in sort of a new role as a returning finisher, and really just enjoy being able to get out there without the pressure associated with trying to finish. I thought that I still had the same motivation and could still push through things the same way when I was out there. But it really was kind of physically getting out and putting myself in that environment and finishing loop 2 and seeing where we were on time. I had the previous experience. I was cursed with the knowledge of knowing that I didn't think that I could finish at that point. I was falling a bit behind on time, and B, I just realized that I was not in the right mental state, the right mental frame of mind to be able to push myself through what I knew Loop 4 and Loop 5 would bring, both on the physical side and on the mental side. So for me, I know that I could have gone back out there and done another loop or another 2 loops, but I don't think that I could have finished. And anything less than a finish simply didn't have any personal value to me. You know, I go out and I do these things to figure out what I can do and how my body reacts and how my mind reacts to these situations. And at that point, I already knew. I already had the answer. I knew what I could do. I knew how my mind was reacting. And, you know, I'd be lying if I said that things like the Grand Round, things that I had planned for this year weren't sitting heavily on my mind when I was considering whether to continue or not. We were moving to the UK 6 days after the race, and just, you know, it wasn't worth it to me to kind of wreck my mind and my body at that point with everything that I had coming up.
Do you think there is any personal value left for you to find at that race?
I don't know. That's something that I'm going to have to consider in the future. Maybe if I am in a little bit of a less hectic place in life, maybe kind of reflecting on my failure there this year will give me that fire back. Maybe seeing other people go back to the race will give me that fire back. But that's something that I'm going to have to really put a lot of thought into, really discuss with my wife and figure out, because it's not something that I do want to invest my own time and the time of others who support me to go back to that if I don't think that I can really get out there and have that same mindset that's necessary to finish the race.
Compared to Barkley, John, it is an Ironman for you. Does it feel a bit easier?
Oh yeah. It's it's a different sort of challenge. It's one where you're really pushing yourself against the clock in much the same way, and it's just a higher intensity, shorter duration, and a more singular focus. Like in an Ironman, basically I have to worry about how fast am I going and what am I putting into my body? Am I drinking and eating the right amounts for the conditions? And that's it. I basically have go faster, go slower, consume more, consume less. Those are the two knobs that I have. Whereas in Barkley, there's so many more variables, so many other things that you have to consider. It's really much more of a puzzle, which as an engineer appeals to me.
Have you had the shortest ever professional triathlon career?
I would say so.
So explain for those that don't know.
So I was, I knew that I would be giving up triathlon, or at least competitive triathlon, at the end of last year.
And that was at Kona, so we should add this. You'd like a 2 or 3 time Kona qualifier?
Yeah, twice. And so yeah, I did my season last year, and I went to Kona, and after Kona, immediately after Kona, actually the next day, I took my pro card and signed up for Ironman Arizona, which was a month later. Really just wanting to experience what that was like, to put myself in a different field, and I didn't have to worry about the draft backs like I did at Kona. But it's one of those things that I had the opportunity, and looking back 20 years from now, I don't want to say, well, I could have done that, but I didn't. So I went ahead and did it, and whether it's the shortest triathlon career or not, I think this is one of my prouder records, actually. I'm pretty sure I hold the record by a significant margin for the slowest swim ever in a sub-9 hour Ironman.
I was going to ask you about that. How the hell did you go sub-hours at a sub-9 after a 1:17 swim?
Yeah, so
that's some going.
The swim was a complete disaster, even for me. Swimming is by far my weakness in triathlon. I'm not good at it. I don't enjoy it. But even still, I normally swim like just south of 105. So I came out of the water in 117 to the point that the pro athlete coordinator, she was visibly shocked when another pro athlete came to get their bike. I was like, did something happen? Are you okay? And so I had a strong bike. I enjoyed it. I didn't push myself. Again, I was out there really for the experience. And then partway into the run, I was feeling pretty good, and I was kind of I did the math in my head, and I was like, oh, I could still go sub-9. Should I do that? And I had this debate going in my head for a few miles, like, yeah, I mean, I could maybe do it, but it would really hurt. And I didn't want to hurt in this race. I wanted to have fun and enjoy it, and just kind of kept chugging along to where I got to the point where I was just like, okay, no, let's do this. This is a pretty cool goal. It's a pretty unique opportunity to be able to shoot for this. I'm not ever going to be able to try this again. So yeah, let's do it. And I had the best Ironman run that I think I've ever had, despite not going into this race with the best fitness. And perhaps it was because I had a weaker swim and a weaker bike that I had more left in the tank. But I pretty even splits all the way through, and I think my marathon split was a 2:52 and came in just under the wire at 8:58 or 8:59. So that was actually that was 3 straight Ironmans I had where I was like within a minute. I was like 8:58 or 8:59 for all of them.
That is solid.
But yeah, one of my friends checked after the race, and he has a database of tens of thousands of pro Ironman results, and the next slowest swim for a sub 9 hour was 1:14.
Oh, so it's comfortable.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid margin that I have that by.
And do you think, like, are there any like triathlons that you would like to go and do, or kind of is that it for now? I know I've read a few of your race reports, and you said, pretty much I have retired from triathlon.
Yeah, I mean, I would maybe do one just for fun. There are these sort of, despite the name, these extreme triathlons out there.
Like Patagon Man and Norseman and things like that.
And there's one here at Keltman.
Keltman, exactly.
I was actually wanting to do, but just with my schedule for the year, wasn't able to fit in, at least not intelligently fit it in there. But I would definitely love to do one of that nature, where it really is more about the personal challenge and enjoying sort of the unique environment in which the race takes place, and enjoying the community. Whereas, a lot of the others like Kona and whatnot, and the super, the hype and everything of it. I mean, some people love that, and that's great. But it's just not really me. It's not what I enjoy the most, and that's again why kind of the lower key nature of ultra running appeals to me.
Maybe Keltman for 2020, if you're still in the UK.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what else gets lined up. So much always depends on lottery outcomes.
Yeah, true. Very, very true. John, there are a couple more questions I would like to ask. One of them is, how do you manage to do all of the training for this? Because you work full time, you're a family man. How the heck do you fit it all in? Or in previous years, how have you fitted it in?
So that's another reason going from triathlon to ultra running. The total volume of training is a bit less. I don't have to go to the pool for a swim or whatnot. All of my weekday miles, with the exception of when I occasionally work from home, are my commute. And it's been that way for years, whether I was running or biking. Now it's all running. Like, if you look at my Strava since I've arrived in the UK, it's to Bristol and back on the exact same route twice a day, every day. So it's really kind of, probably not all that exciting to look at, but that's how I fit it in. And instead of sitting on a bus or on a train, I run, and it takes me about 45 minutes to, if I time the bus right, that's a big if, to get from where I live to work. And I can run it in just under an hour, going through these beautiful footpaths over these hills with gorgeous views. And I get my workout in, and I don't pay $3-something pounds for a ticket. And it's, I'm really killing two birds with one stone. And that's the only way that I can fit things in on the weekday. And then on the weekends, I try to fit it in around kids' nap schedules, or get up early and get it out of the way.
How old are they now, John, your kids?
So we have twins that are 2 years old, and our oldest just turned 5. So yeah, fitting it around that, and even late at night, as much as I hate it, I do use the treadmill when it's the only remaining option.
Yeah, wow. And I guess you have to be so ridiculously organised as well, and have a very, very lovely, understanding wife as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other big thing is just there are so many little things that we do on a daily basis that can eat away at our time. Just, a few minutes here on Facebook, a few minutes there doing this, watching an episode of TV. And I mean, again, not to sound boring, but like I have my family and I have my job and I have running. Like that's it. I don't do anything else. There aren't these other little side hobbies or watching TV, or I do watch Game of Thrones, but that's pretty much it. There aren't these other things that I do. And so all of those little tiny pieces of time add up to buckets that are big enough for me to get a run in, or for me to do something with the family. So then I have a shot to run later. So being able to organize that well to where you're really efficient with your time and intentional with your time, to where you're always making the time count, quality time with people rather than just, I'd rather have 10 quality minutes with my kids than half an hour of us just like sitting in the same room at the same time, not really doing anything on phones or TV or whatever.
So true. Those are so many good lessons. My final question, John, is it true that your greatest shame as an ultra runner is that you don't have a beard?
I can't. I've tried, and it's just it comes out looking like, if I tried to grow one and I was seen on the street with my kids, someone would probably call the cops on me. Like it does not come out well. And my dad can grow an awesome beard, and I apparently didn't get those genes. But he's also bald, and I've got a pretty solid full head of hair on top. So I'll, whether that's a good trait or not, I guess that's a personal preference.
I think what you lack for in facial hair, you make up for in many, many other ways on the ultra running scene. I wouldn't worry.
Thank you.
John, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to chat, and everyone should go and check out your website, because there's so much amazing stuff on there. randomforestrunner.com. This guy is an amazing athlete, and good luck for the Grand Rounds.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed chatting, and we'll see how this big adventure goes in a couple weeks.
So good luck to John Kelly, and if you want to check him out, he's at Random Forest Runner, his website. So Random Forest Runner.
It's almost inconceivable, isn't it, that anybody can be fit enough to even contemplate doing something like that. Three of the toughest mountain ultra endurance challenges, and then linked by bike, and then done within a time limit. That's just, it's beyond bonkers.
Beyond bonkers. Amazing.
Fair play.
We will be following with interest.
Absolutely awesome. All right, everyone. Well, listen, we're going to wrap up today's show. Thanks very much to our sponsors, precisionhydration.com. Remember, you can use the code Oxygenaddict for $9.99's worth of free pH, and also foodcell.co.uk. Remember, you can use the code FREEPOST for free delivery worldwide. Until next week, I am Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. Have a great, safe training and racing week, and we'll speak to you all again soon. Cheers, everyone. See ya.